So I decided to get on here. It's about time, and I haven't made a video in a long time. And I kind of just wanted to give an update and talk about a couple things that have come up for me and the new direction that I'm kind of taking in terms of my treatment. But yeah, a lot has happened in the past, 8 or 9 months. Really, I recently what I've done is I bought a duck coil machine and I've been using that. And what I found over the past winter was that I really was dealing with Bartonella and Lyme still. But Bartonella was something that I knew I had, I just didn't know how many symptoms it was causing, especially related to the neurological stuff. So winter was a little bit, a little bit of a lull in symptoms. I would say I think that most of the neurological stuff was definitely still there, but things weren't as bad. And once the spring came around, things really just got rough. And so I started looking for alternate things that I could do to start getting at Bartonella. Um, I think what happens is the Lyme and these infections will go dormant during the winter time, and then spring hits and you have this crazy flare up. So I was using a couple of different herbs for Bartonella. I tried Hotunia and resveratrol, and they really do work. I herxed pretty badly on those things, but what it came down to is, and what it still continues to come down to, is that every time I rife, or I take an herb, or I take an antimicrobial, even if I eat garlic, um, I can't properly detox, and it's like the toxins stay in my brain, and there's not a whole lot. It feels like I can feel the infection load being decreased, but I can feel circulating toxins in my brain increasing at the same time. So basically, I just started looking for, compromised detox pathways. I had a chronic mold exposure issue in the past, and I've really been following Dr. Klinghart's work a lot because he's got a lot of good information out there. In fact, um, I made an appointment to see him for later on down the road in case I still need to. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but he puts a lot of his stuff out there online. And if you following him, if any of you are following Dr. Shoemaker's work and Dr. Klinghart's work, some of their stuff overlaps a little bit. And so recently I've been tested for the HLA-DR genetic um, predisposition to not being able to detoxify Lyme and mold biotoxins. And that's pretty important because if you do have that genotype, which I think I might have, that causes a whole cascade of symptoms related to not being able to detox these biotoxins very well. And just to kind of explain in a short, um, concise kind of a way of what this does is basically you're exposed to Lyme biotoxins and mold toxins, and your body can't process them out. Basically, they are fat soluble, so they stick to your fat cells, and the toxins cause a constant release of something called pro-inflammatory cytokines. And in your body, these cytokines, they just really make you feel sick. It's your immune system's response to, I guess, what you would call a foreign invader, or these toxins that just won't leave your body. And that causes a whole cascade of events to happen. Increased cytokines cause an increase in a chemical called MMP9, which is a chemical that I believe is released by lymphocytes, and I could be wrong about that, but that basically makes people feel really bad. It also does a couple other things in terms of making the environment in the body easier for the organisms to have a stronghold. And as Dr. Klinghart puts it, it makes it easier for the microbes to drink your tissues opposed to eating them. So it has something to do with degrading tissues and the myelin sheath around nerves, and basically it's not something that you want to be dealing with. And there's a whole list of other things that happen. Reduced VEGF. Uh, um, that's vascular endothelial growth factor, which is something, a marker that can be high in chronic Bartonella infections, but it can also be low in people who have the HLA-DR genetic predisposition. So that's something that you can have tested to mark where you're at with that as well. But this whole cascade continues. You get low MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormone, which if you have this, you'll start to get problems with sleep. It goes into problems with hormone function related to the pituitary gland, and then the cascade to the adrenals and so on. And then you have problems with antidiuretic hormones, sex hormones, cortisol problems, and this is all in a response to inflammation in the body. And basically, the people who get the sickest with these Lyme and biotoxin illnesses with chronic Lyme are the ones who have these biotoxin illnesses. And Klinghardt believes that there's really only two ways chronic Lyme can exist, and that is either the patient has the HLR genetic predisposition, or they had a previous mold toxin exposure, which triggered the basically the infection to become more severe, more chronic, or I guess what he's basically saying is to really get chronic Lyme at all. And so that's something that I've been looking into. I just got tested, some of these things tested through Quest Labs. And so I'm waiting to see what comes back. I'm waiting to see if I had this HLR genetic predisposition. But the other thing that I'm looking into, and that I was just tested for as well, was something that Dr. Klinghardt has talked a lot about, called KPU or HPU, cryptopyluria. And basically it is a massive deficiency of zinc and a few other minerals and vitamins in the body, manganese, B6, biotin, and a few other things. Basically, it's a condition where the body excretes all of its zinc out through the urine, and it can be initiated from infections like Lyme, through traumatic events as a child, or it can be a genetic condition. So there's a urine test that is done for HPU, and I just sent that into a lab out in New Jersey called Vitamin Diagnostics last week, so I'm waiting to get those results back. But it's a 24-hour urine collection. You don't take any vitamins or supplements for about 5 days before, and they're looking for something called HPL. I guess it's a marker or a chemical that they're able to see if you have KPU. And basically, the treatment for KPU is, according to Klinghardt, is taking zinc. There's a product by a company called BioPure, and it's called a Core product, and it contains zinc and a few other of the essential things you need to correct the deficiency. But basically, people are saying that they correct this deficiency, and they're really, really starting to get resolution in a lot of their symptoms. And you might wonder why this is so important. But basically, your immune system needs zinc to function. About a third of all your enzyme functions are zinc dependent in your body. So if you are low in zinc, your body is going to try to find other heavy metals to complete these enzyme functions. And you're talking about mercury, aluminum, the list goes on of heavy metals that it's going to use instead. So what happens is your immune system can't function properly. Your enzyme functions are impaired. Your detox pathways are also extremely impaired, and that makes it difficult to detox Lyme biotoxins, mold biotoxins, and any toxins in general, really. So, so it's really important if you have this to address the issue. Now, from what I've been reading, if you have KPU and you address it, it might supersede the HLA-DR. In fact, Klinghardt says that a lot of his patients really don't have a problem with mold toxins, Lyme toxins. Their infections are a lot easier to treat after they address KPU. And really, it just brings people to a new level of wellness that they just didn't have before. So I'm just curious to see what everybody thinks about KPU, who's tried it, what you're doing, what your experiences are with it, because some people have expressed that as you start dislodging heavy metals as a part of the KPU protocol, you can feel a lot worse, and you have to have chelating and detox agents at your disposal while you're going through HPU treatment, just because you're going to start dislodging these metals when you're building your zinc up again. Your body is using zinc for the enzyme functions, and it's dumping the heavy metals. And the last thing you want to do is redistribute them to a place that might be more dangerous in your body. So this is all really something new for me. I'm really hoping that this gives me a leg up on my treatment, because it just seems like I'm able to kill, and the only thing that's really happening is that I'm getting more foggy and feeling more disconnected and more toxic. And you know, infrared sauna, I have one. Ionic foot bath, I've got one. I've done coffee enemas, I've done colonics, I do, you know, all of that stuff. It helps, but in a lot of these people with KPU, they find that any attempt to detox or to kill using antimicrobials or RIFE, any of these therapies, they tend to just make people worse. And a lot of these people are saying once they address KPU, they require a lot less treatment, or a lot less, they respond to much milder treatments in terms of these infections. And in fact, a lot of the infections become less severe. So just really hoping that this is something that that is going to be helpful for me. I've got a couple friends who are starting it now, and there are a couple other people out there like Connie Strassheim, Scott Forsgren, who has done it. I believe I don't know if he's still doing it. A couple people out there out on the web, and you know, who are trying this and kind of following Clean Heart's lead. So I'm really kind of excited and hopeful that this is going to be helpful. The other thing I wanted to mention was I was reading, and I will post a link if I remember, about this most recent conference that Clean Heart put on called A Deeper Look into Lyme. But he talks about melanocyte stimulating hormone, and when that is low, you'll feel really bad. Shoemaker talks about it as well. But one thing he says you can take and you can use to help boost up your MSH levels is myrrh essential oil. So I went out and I bought some today. I got this from the Now brand, which I don't know how great it is, but it was still about 30 bucks for a 1 ounce bottle. And you can put it in a diffuser, and then you can breathe it in that way. I don't have one, so I've just been putting a little bit on my fingers and rubbing it by my nose. But I should probably get a diffuser and see. But, you know, he says, Clean Heart says a lot of people find pretty amazing, have some pretty amazing experiences when just fixing MSH. And it really is huge in mold biotoxin illness, Lyme condition, that whole condition. So we'll see how this goes. It's sort of the most recent thing that I'm doing. But I just wanted to get on here and let everybody know that I'm still around, still, you know, struggling with the brain stuff. But I think with this information that I've learned, you know, there's got to be an answer here. And you know, there's from what I'm really learning is that there's always some sort of hope, because you know, these pieces to the puzzle are out there. It just takes time to put them all together. And sometimes, you know, you're not ready to get all the pieces together. You know, a year ago, I probably wouldn't have been open to a lot of this stuff, but today, you know, it's a different story. So, you know, that's sort of the way this whole illness goes, I guess. It's a journey. So, I'll make another video sometime soon, let you guys know how that goes. I've got about 2 weeks to see the results for this KPU test, and I'll be curious to get started and give you guys some feedback. So talk to you soon. See you.